looking at the other massive game, Kerry and Tyrone. That's going to be tasty here now. I have to say, I'm looking forward to this one. I have to say.
Yeah, look, there's never been a bad one. Particularly in Croke Park, there's fireworks. There's been history there. Obviously Paddy Tally's connection with Kerry as well is, it'll probably not have gained much traction, this week or whatever. But it's a significant advantage to have within the camp, because he's obviously someone who knows Tyrone football very well, being a Galway club man. Probably watching a lot of club football in Tyrone. He'll have the ins and outs of all those players. He'll have worked with a lot of those players at St Mary's University in Belfast as well. Myler won a Sigerson Cup with him, actually. When they won their first ever Sigerson Cup, Myler was a big part of that team, McGeary. But look, for me, this is a game that's a little bit similar in an area of weakness that we identified in the Dublin Mayo game. I think the midfield battle is going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
I think Conor Patrick and Brian Kennedy showed the last day out that they're a really significant force in the middle of the field. They're two phenomenal athletes. They're two big, very powerful, athletic men who can cover ground, but who can also compete in the aerial stakes as well. I think the referee's got a significant influence here. Brendan Cawley, I think, is a brilliant referee. He refereed last week's game tremendously well, and one of the identifiable features of his refereeing style is he will let it flow, and he will make a player earn a free kick, and that will just be right up Tyrone's alley. If Tyrone can start the game with a manic intensity and a bite and an aggression, I know last weekend Tomás O'Shea talked about Tyrone, when they have a bit of needle about them and a bit of bite, a bit of spice, it's nearly like needing a cause. People people from outside the 6 counties would probably look at the Nordies and say, you have a chip on your shoulder, and there's a paranoia exists in the north, for a long time, but there is a real chip and an edge in Tyrone when they get going, and you can imagine them circling the wagons and, talking about Kerry and talking about Clifford. And go back to the club game. Stewartstown played Fossa, and Fossa were beating everyone off the park, and Stewartstown could have won that game, but it was just, it had a real Tyrone Kerry feel to it, the sendings off, the tackles, the aggression, and I think this is going to be really, really spicy, and I really do. I think a lot will hinge on who picks up Seanie O'Shea and who picks up Clifford. Yeah. Seanie O'Shea 1-8 the last day. David Clifford 2-4. Them two players are obviously two special talents. I remember years ago, going down to Kerry. Myself, Marie, the two girls went down, and we were there for 4 or 5 days. We're sitting in a restaurant having a bite to eat, and of course, football is just religion down there. And we were chatting and talking away, and this lad David Clifford was coming through at schools football, and you'd heard whimpers of him and how good he was. I think he was only maybe 15, 16 at the time, and the guy in the bar says, he says, I'm telling you now, he says, we have a better one. He says, we have a boy called Seanie O'Shea. He says, he is phenomenal, and they had rated Seanie O'Shea, as highly as Clifford when he was coming through at underage level. So, the matchups in those two are going to be extremely interesting. As I said before, Tyrone have those dogs of war at the back. Your Hempseys, your McNamees, they will relish this end. They will relish coming to Croke Park, being massive underdogs. Niall Morgan's an experienced goalkeeper. They've had some really good days in Croke Park. They've had some bad days as well. But I think the one thing that impressed me the last day, the standout thing for Tyrone against Donegal, was the flexibility they had in their attack. They had Myler playing with a bit of form again, and McGeary. They had the two Canavans, the Darren McCurry, really, really hard forwards to match up. And I would say this weekend is going to be a match-up nightmare for Jack O'Connor, because who does he match up? Who does Paul Murphy pick up? Paul Murphy is not, for me, an out-and-out really dogged defender. Who does Tom O'Sullivan pick up? Who does Jason Foley pick up? So those are all questions that they're going to have to ask, and it's a match-up nightmare. It's a match-up nightmare. But I if you can stifle the influence of Clifford and Seanie O'Shea, I don't know where Kerry are going to get enough scores to beat Tyrone, because this Tyrone team will relish coming to Croke Park, and they're full of pace. They're full of pace.
You're probably talking there, Steve, with the matchups. You probably would we'll say the likes of Paul Murphy might play as a sweeper, like Matty Donnelly usually comes out the field. Like to me, the two Canavans, McCurry, Croke Park is made for these three players here. Like they are ready, they're born to be playing in Croker here with their pace and just directness. I can't wait to see the three of them in action, to be honest with you. You're probably talking Jason Foley, Thomas Sullivan, they'll go on either McCurry or Derek Canavan. Like, you know, with Clifford on the other side, like Clifford Shawnee Shea is showing a bit more form the last few weeks, the last few games he's had. The last couple of games he's had, definitely compared to the start of the year, he was quite disappointed for his standards he set in the previous years. Like who are you talking here with David and Sean on Tyrone's side? Like McKernan, McNamee, Hamsey, who would you fancy there for that?
I think McNamee and Hamsey, I think, could be the two. You know, I think they could be the two. I know Michael O'Neill's playing at 6. I don't know if he'll pick Sean O'Shea up, but they could be the two that tag those two men. But, you know, the midfield battle, you know, O'Connor and Jack Barry against Colin Kilpatrick and Brian Kennedy. It could be decisive. It could be a decisive part of the game. Really, you know, for me, if Colin Kilpatrick and Brian Kennedy are playing well on Saturday, I think Kerry could struggle. I think Kerry could really struggle. You know, Tyrone will have to get after the kick out, force them to go long, force Shane Ryan to go long. You know, because Kerry are missing that real out and out ball winner. You know, David Moore to go up and feel the ball. And look, you got a bit of stick. You know, about saying Kerry wouldn't get past the quarterfinal, and you get a bit of stick for saying maybe they haven't unearthed too many new options, but they haven't. I'm looking at their team here now, and I'm looking at their squad. You know, the subs the last day: Barry Dan O'Sullivan, Brian O'Begley, Rory Murphy, Stephen O'Brien, Michael Burns. Like, they don't have anything there really that's, you know, standing where you're saying, Jesus, you know, like massive amount of options there, you know. So they're still relying on Paulie Clifford, Adrian Spillane, Tony Brosnan. They're still relying on those players. And I just don't know where they're at. Now, they beat Louth 5-24 to 0-11 the last day out. Very similar situation to Dublin, I suppose. You know, in that they had one poor game. Kerry had that one poor game against Mayo, and then they had two, you know, quite impressive wins then. You know, and you're sort of thinking to yourself, right, you know, are they coming in lovely and cooked and perfectly set for this? But Tyrone just coming out of last weekend, Tyrone probably needed that last weekend. They needed that win, that momentum, that Deganis, you know, and look, you know, it's so hard to know where Tyrone are at, and that's the thing, that's the beauty of all these games. Actually, they're so difficult to call because we don't know if the advantage is going to be with the 4 teams who have been sitting waiting, or the advantage is going to be with the teams with momentum. That's the big thing. But certainly for me, Kerry are going to have their hands full this weekend. Hands full.
Like, I know I did get a bit of stick for saying that to you, but that's like, people take it very personally, as in, like, if you go against one of their teams, obviously Kerry are All-Ireland champions, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful here. I'm just going through the history of the last 10 years where All-Ireland champions come through the next year, and what's their league? The league campaign, Stevie, as you know yourself, shows an awful lot of signs whether or not that team is going to go on and win the All-Ireland or not. And this year for Kerry, they've shown the signs that they're not the same team as they were last year. Now, for whatever reason that is, we're on about not unearthing too many players, which, as you said, they haven't really, like, and that's a problem here. You know, it's as you know yourself, like we said this before, it's like a virus going through your team here. If you get comfortable, individuals get comfortable here, well, then their performance, human nature, that level of performance will drop here. So that's what I can see from this Kerry team here. Now, look, I could be completely wrong here, but look, they've got Tyrone. Obviously, that was probably the worst draw they could have gotten here, in my opinion, because to me, Tyrone match up very well with Kerry here. As you said, the midfield battle, I have to give Tyrone the edge here in the midfield battle, and like I really think the Tyrone full forward line with Rory Canavan, they're going to cause serious issues here with that Kerry full back line. They really are. And like I'm looking at the subs here. Like, now, granted, Tyrone don't have too many subs. Like, they brought on Frank Burns and Richie Donny the last day. I'm not sure. Is McShane gone? Is he? He's gone off the squad. Is he?
Yeah, McShane's off the squad. Like,
he's off the squad. Yeah. So he's now, he would have been a fucking massive option on Saturday here. But like, I'm looking at excuse me, Kerry subs as well. They have Brian O'Brigley came in, Stephen O'Brien came in, Micheál Burns came in. Barry Don O'Sullivan came in for Jack Barry the last day. That's obviously the third choice midfielder here. Like, look at David Moore, obviously retired this year, and look at David Moore didn't start every game last year. But you know what he did do? I bet he bet the fuck into Barry and Jim O'Connor in Kerry training, the AVBs, the weeks coming up to the games here. And he set a standard for them boys. Like, he wanted that jersey. So that's competition, and that drove them two boys on. They're, like, to me... Go on.
You talked there, Enda, about winning back-to-back All-Irelands. In 89 and 90, Cork won back-to-back All-Irelands, right, in 89 and 90. From 1990, if you take out the Dublin six in a row, who were unique, right? They were unique. But since 1990, outside the Dublin six in a row, so you're talking about 34 years, right? You're talking about in the last 28 years, only one team has done back-to-back. That was Kerry in 06 and 07, you know. No other team has done back-to-back. So it's an extremely difficult feat to accomplish, you know, back-to-back All-Ireland titles. There's so many variables have to fall your way. Like last year, Kerry won the All-Ireland last year with a free, absolute monster of a free kick in the last minute, in the last kick of the game from Shawnee O'Shea, the last kick of the game, right, a monster free kick. And in the final, Galway had massive momentum when the free kick was given against them right in front of me. I was sitting in the Cusick watching it right in front of me. It was never a free, and the decision was reversed, free in, and you know, it was a massive call from Sean Harrison, massive call, and that changed the momentum of that game, because Galway could very, very perceivably easily have gone down the field and taken the lead in the game for the first time, you know. So listen, it certainly is, you know, a very, very difficult to win one, never mind win back-to-backs. And I just have a funny feeling that in this weekend, that cause, that throne of that mentality and that psyche of, like, you know, they haven't had a phenomenal year. But I said this a number of weeks ago, and I don't know if you remember this on a couple of the shows. I just had a funny feeling for Tyrone, Armagh, these counties who haven't been motoring overly well, but if they just slip through to a quarter-final, anything's possible. And I genuinely feel, looking at this, there's 5 teams can win the All-Ireland here. Like, there's 5 teams can win the All-Ireland.
I have 3 Northern teams in the semi-finals. Maybe someone said that to me when I called out my predictions.
I hope you're right. You know.
But like, it's look, time will tell here. One more point on this game before we move on here. Tyrone, how do you think they're going to set up here in terms of? Do you think they're going to let Kerry have the kick out? Do you think they're going to play really defensive? Do you think they'll push on more? Like, what's your reading on this?
I think there'll be a bit of both. I think they'll press when they get opportunities to press. I think they'll back Kilpatrick and Kennedy. Tyrone's Achilles heel in the noughties obviously would have been, you know, Tyrone's Achilles heel in the noughties that would have been labelled at them was they didn't really have a massive midfield and they relied on turnovers and stuff like that. But this year they have that physicality and they have that size and strength, you know, to win their own ball. And even going back to their team in 2018, like, it was really only Colin Cavanagh as an out ball that they had, you know, and once that was negated, they struggled to win, you know, primary ball from long kick out. So I do feel Tyrone will want to go after Shane Ryan, you know. I think they'll definitely take chances, and I think Kerry, it's in their DNA and to press, you know, and I think they're going to press a lot of kick outs as well. So look, it'll be interesting, but I think it's very, very hard in the modern game to press every single kick out. But certainly Cork have proved over the last number of weeks that when you do press, you get rewards, you know, and sort of clutch moments, those key moments, rather than drop off and hand the team a free opportunity to work a structured attack. Get after it, you know, and give yourself the opportunity to win a ball. And because you see in these games, and you know, double and treble scores could be huge. You know, if you're in a game where it's 10-9, 10-all, 11-10, 11-all, if you could go from 11-all to 14-11 in 3 or 4 plays, all of a sudden you have a massive advantage in the game. It's nearly like a tennis match. You know, if you break the serve and you have the ball, and then you're, you know, it's huge. It's huge. You know, it's absolutely huge. You know. So,
what are you going to say? How are you going to call this one?
I'm going to go for Tyrone to win this narrowly.
Well, with my predictions a few weeks ago, I have to go with Tyrone here. So, look, it could be, to be honest, this could be a draw. This could be a Galway Armagh game last year, to be honest. It really could. I think it's that tight, to be honest. So look, you just don't know what fucking.
If it goes to penalties, all those soccer men and Kerry, the Kerry will win it.
We shall see.